Boker Tov. Today's daf is Kuf Yud Aleph. We pick up on the last line of Kuf Yud Amud Bet. We're going through each of the people that inherit from one another. We did a father inherits from his children, which is not in the psukim. We learned it out from different psukim, but let's say the drasha of Shero HaKarov Elav, and Shero is the father, and we inserted in between the children and the brother. Then we learned out between the children, the pshat of the psukim. It took us a long time to sort of underscore the pshat of the psukim. But the pshat of the psukim is that first it goes to sons, if no sons, then daughters. Then we inserted the father, and then the Gemara said, and then we had the brothers. The brothers explicit in the psukim. The pasuk says, "V'nein lo bat u'nesatem esachaso la'achiv." But the Gemara said that the point the Gemara needed to make there was that it was a brother defined by a paternal brother with a shared father, based on the general principle that mishpachas av kari mishpacha, mishpachas ein kari mishpacha. Okay, so now we got that whole thing, right? Son, daughter, father, brother, and then father's brother. So that's basically the whole Mishnah, except the things that aren't in the psukim, which is, so now we're going to start with them. There's wife and there's mother. So let's take a look. Yish et imo. Yeah.
What is the word she'ero really?
We mentioned that before. I think you might not have been here. It's like flesh.
Yeah, so, but like, how does it, like, is it related to like Lishaer, Nishar?
Oh, that I don't know. But it's flesh. Anyway, so there's a whole Ramban about that by the pasuk Vayulu Basar Echad, which is relevant to husband and wife, as we discussed, and like Sheirak Sutava Onatan, and so on. Okay, the Ish Imo, a man inherits from his mother. So now the mother does not inherit from her son, as we've seen. That we said explicitly, right? Because mishpacha sav kari mishpacha, mishpacha seimina kari mishpacha. But a man inherits from his mother. Minani mili, where do you know this from? Now, before we go on, the question is like, well, I don't understand. We already said that the inheritance goes, son and then daughter and then brother, etc. So if that's true when a man dies, that should be true when a woman dies. So if a woman dies, it should go to her son. What's the issue? So if you take a look at Tosfos makes a very important point, which fits into, of course, the general theme we've been talking about. But Omer Rivam, other types of inheriting, means from women, not that women inherit, but inheriting from a woman who dies. Okay, Kigon, Bito or Achato, a man's daughter were to die, or his sister were to die. Pitale, the Yoreshet Otar should be Avia Oacheha. So if a woman dies, it will be obvious that her father would inherit her or her brother would inherit her. Right? We've already established the order of inheritance. So what should it matter if it's a woman who dies, who passes on her property, or a man who dies? So the Gemara says, Kivan she'ena Yerushet. No, so there we didn't need a special pasuk. We've already established the whole order. And why is it obvious? Because if a woman dies and her husband inherits, her father inherits from her, or her brother inherits from her, it all stays within the, patriarchal family, right? Okay, I'm going to understand why, because those are blood relatives through the father. And it's obvious that men and women are the same, whether to inherit or whether to bequeath. It's not always they don't inherit in the same way. Daughters come after sons, but anyway, but certainly when they die to pass on their property, it's all going to be the same. So once we've got the whole system set up, why do you need a pasuk about when a woman dies? So he says, "Demali zecharim amali nekevos." Nechse noshim you hefker. I don't understand. You think just because the psukim are talking about a man dying, you mean the woman dies, it's a free for all? Okay, so obviously once we establish what happens when somebody dies, it doesn't matter if it's a man or it's a woman. Okay, so then why are we asking the question when a mother dies, does her son inherit from her? It says, "V'davka bein b'nichsei ha'ein tzarich lemelef leti shenisevet nachala mimate avia ayidei haben." Right, because when a mother dies and her son inherits her, the property of that woman that she got from her father's family is now going on to her son, who might very well be of a different tribe. Right, a woman that's born to Shevet Hadan, and she marries a man from like Shevet Reuven. When she dies, the property she took from her father's household, right, in the Danite Nachala, in the Danite section of Eretz Yisrael, is now going to pass on to her son, who's from Reuven. right? You're not understanding? That's
no. I'm trying to think about the geographical.
right. So it's the same thing when a woman dies, right? The same thing and that was the whole reason that the uncles of Benot Tzalaf complained, right? Is because a woman who passes on the inheritance to her husband or to her son will have the effect of taking it out of the nachala of that tribe that originated, exchanging the mishpachas aviyah, and sort of like disrupting the patriarchy. As I said, the land does not remain within the patriarchal family if it passes from a woman and from a woman through her son, or to her son or to her husband. So therefore, what we're going to be looking at today is both of those. That a woman, well, we actually already spoke about a husband inheriting from his wife, but we're going to touch on it again. But also a son or a daughter inheriting from her mother, where you have where it can go out of the tribal lands. So it leaves the mishpacha space aviyah. So that's why Tosa says, of course, if a woman dies, it follows all the rules that we've laid out. But the one thing that you need a chiddush to is that it even will transfer to somebody who will take it out of the patriarchal household. It'll transfer to a son, it'll transfer to a daughter, it'll transfer to a husband. If it transfers to a blood relative, of course, the rules should be the same.
So in your example of Dan and Ruvain, the effect will be that George Ruvainstein will have a house in Shevet Dan.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the same way, if she dies and her husband from Reuven inherits her, he will have it.
So he could go up north, and all the Danites say, "What are you doing?"
And he says, "This is my nachala."
Like to come for Shalom.
And when Yovel comes and it all restores, everybody gets ish nachalato. He retains that land because that was his nachala. That all came through.
It doesn't go back.
It doesn't go back in the Yovel.
Right.
That's what is so profoundly disruptive about this. Is that it doesn't go back, even at the time of the Yovel. This is what he got in his nachala. His nachala, the nachala of Dan, passed down through Reuven. And now Dan has all these patches. Every shevet will have patches of different tribes.
To be a real estate lawyer.
So all those maps we see by a couple generations are going to be...
Well, it would only be in circumstances when there was no sons and when the person married outside of the tribe. You would imagine most of the time a person would marry within the tribe, right? So, I mean, even in today's day of what do you call it, of global travel and so on, I assume most people marry people from the same state. Probably a high percentage.
My wife was born in Mexico.
All right, fine, whatever. Moving on. Okay, Minani Mili, where is this from? Okay, Minani Mili. So where is this from? That a man inherits from his mother, and as Tosa says, we're even okay with the idea that now that a woman has inherited, it now can pass out of the tribe through her child or through her husband. So we need a pasuk to underscore that. Minani Mili, the Tana Rabbanan, because we talked. Okay, v'chobat yoreshet nachala, any daughter that inherits a inheritance, mimatot b'nei Yisrael, from the tribes of b'nei Yisrael, right? So this is when, what do you call it? When Moshe came back, when the uncles complained, and then Moshe sort of said, fine, they'll marry within the tribe. Okay, but the Gemara is going to say that was only for that generation, exactly. But that was exactly about this problem. So anyway, here's the drasha. It says a daughter who inherits from the tribes. How can a daughter inherit from two tribes? Okay, so you understand how she inherits from her father's tribe that was set up. Father dies, no sons, goes to the daughter. How does she inherit from a different tribe? Okay, she has a father from one tribe, a mother from another. They both die. She inherits her father and her mother. So she inherits from, and there's no sons. So she's now inherited from two tribes. The Ainli Elabat. So now that says that a daughter can inherit from her mother. Bein Minayin. How do you know a son can? And let's just pause here, right? Why should it be a difference? I mean, sons always, at least come before daughters in inheritance. So obviously, if a daughter should inherit, a son should inherit. That will be the answer. But I want to just pause and appreciate the Havamina. Because, as Tosos points out, the effect of a woman dying and passing it on to her son is that it goes out of the tribe, right? So if she passes it on to her daughter, it's less disruptive, right? Because it's less, right? Because, who knows? I mean, it's potentially disruptive, but anyway, it's just pushing it off. It's not immediately a problem.
The daughter could marry someone from the mother's original tribe.
In theory, right. So obviously, the highest likelihood is it will pass out, but at least it's not immediately disruptive. Okay, so anyway, so Heich Bas Yeresh Shnei Matot, Elazo, we just did it. Ainli Elabat. I only know a daughter inherits from her mother. Bain Minayan. How do I know a son inherits from her mother? And then would immediately pass from one tribe to the next. Amarta Kavachomer. Uma Bas Shura Kocha Benichsei Ha'av, Yife Kocha Benichsei Ha'aim, a daughter whose power is weak by the father's property, weaker, that she only gets second, right? And nevertheless, her position is strong by her mother. Now, meaning we don't know. It's clear. It's clear she inherits from her mother, and she's only on second line of inheritance from the father. The father, who's the son, who's first in line from the father's property. Isn't it clear that he also would have a strong position in his mother's property? So if a daughter inherits, certainly a son inherits. Now, that's fine. Now, here becomes a core question. Does the order still apply by the case of the mother's property? Okay, so that's going to be an interesting debate. So now we're saying this Breita says yes. You apply the same principles of the model you're learning from. So Malahalan ben Kodem Labat, the same way in the case of the father's inheritance, the son comes before the daughter. Afkan here too, ben Kodem Labas, the son comes before the daughter. Because that's where we learn it from. So we apply the son that we know by the father's inheritance, and then we're also going to assume he comes first.
Wait, Mimakom Shabbata is a comment on the logic of the argument.
Yes, you're learning out that the son inherits from the case of the of inheriting the father.
Therefore,
so just like
for the same
exactly by analogy, the same way by the father, son comes first by the mother as well.
I don't remember this phrase.
Okay, Reb Yossi, it comes. Reb Yossi, it's probably more in Midrash Halacha. Reb Yossi, Reb Yehuda, Reb Eliezer, Reb Yossi Amru, Mishum Reb Zechariah ben HaKatzav. So that's a name you don't see too much. What was his father was a butcher or something? Anyway, Reb Zechariah was just his name. Reb Zechariah ben HaKatzav. Echad ben ve'echad bat shavim b'nichsei ha'im. No, he says you know, as we're going to see, you made it from a kavachomer, but a kavachomer can't exceed the case it was learning from. So sidayo. So since you learned the son, if the daughter gets, certainly the son gets. Fine, the son will get, but he's not going to get more than the daughter. You only brought in the son, but yes, they divide equally. You only brought, he's older. Yes, you only brought in the son on the basis of learning from the daughter. So therefore, he will not get more than the daughter. The son and daughter inherit equally. Okay, no. So we're going to see all that, Michael. So anyway, my time, why? It's enough for the something that was learned out to be like the thing it was learned from. So the same way how do we know a son gets? Because if a daughter gets, certainly a son gets. Fine, but that doesn't prove that he gets more than a daughter. Right. You can't exceed. You can make the argument that he certainly gets. You can't make an argument that he gets more. So the Gemara says, "V'tanakama l'dorish dayo." So you telling me the Tanakama who says the son gets first? He doesn't hold to this principle of dayo that you can't exceed the thing you learned from. That dayo d'oraita. We know that's a part of a biblical rule within Kavachomer. How do you know it? Titania, this is one of the few cases that we sort of make a claim that some of these hermeneutic rules, are directly in the pasuk, the rule, not the application of it. Okay, Nidin Kavachomer Ketzad. This is from the sort of the whole Breita of Rabbi Ishmael that the Midos Shatar needs Reshes Bo. So how do you know a Kavachomer? Where do you learn that from the pasukim? Vayomar Hashem Moshe v'Avia Yarok Yirak B'Fanei Lo Tikalim Shivat Yamim. This is by when Miriam spoke Lashon Hara against Moshe. God said, and if her father were to spit in her face, she'd be embarrassed for 7 days at least. So now that the Shekhinah, is angry with her, she has to be shut up for 7 days outside the camp. So the Gemara says, okay, but if a father is 7, then when God gets angry at her, it should be more than 7, right? So kavachomer l'shchina abasar. So you logically, if God's angry, if a father, if due to a shame from a father, it's 7 days embarrassment. Shame from God should logically be more than that. Now, why did we go to 14? Why did we double it? So Tosa says, well, we would know that it would be more than 7. And once it would be more than 7, the whole idea of shutting somebody up outside the camp, like you have by the mitzvah, is like 7 days. They come in 7 day units. Now we really would have only known 7 days and a minute. Okay, you can't necessarily double. you know that it would be more. But once it would be more, the units are 7-day units. Okay, so that's, I mean, there's a discussion why we're saying 14, but that's the one that's, I think, the simplest read. Anyway, so it should be more by the Shechina. So why wasn't it more? So it's enough to the thing that's learned out from the derivation to be from the source of the derivation. So we can't, since we know that the father is 7, and therefore embarrassment from God is maybe has to be at least that much, but we can't prove that it's more, and we don't know how much more, so we limit it to the basis of it. We limit it to the 7 days. So the same here. If a daughter inherits certainly a son, can you prove that a son gets more than a son gets less? No. You just know that he's certainly as much as the daughter. So therefore, so how does the Tanna Kama say, why does the Tanna Kama say that you have a son gets first by Nichsei Ha'im? 1 minute. So the Gemara says, Alma Darishta. You're right. Of course the Tanna Kama holds with the general principle of Daya. Vishani, everybody does. Vishani Hachadamar Kra Mimatot. It says, Bat Yoreshet Nachla Mimatot. She inherits from tribes. And we set up the scenario, father and mother, different tribes, and they both die. Okay, so since both tribes are equated in that word matot, it suggests that the inheriting from the father and the inheriting from the mother are the same. So makish mata'im lamate'av, they're both in that word matot, inheriting from the mother's tribe and the father's tribe. Ma mate'av bein kodem labat, the same way in the father's tribe, the son comes before the daughter. Av mate'aim bein kodem labat. So this pasuk will tell me that sense of priority, or that sense of order, sequence is maintained even in the case where the mother dies. Now, I want to just pause for a moment because the Gemara is not over, and we're actually going to see that it was going to be a very vigorous debate, this halachic question. When a mother dies, do sons and daughters inherit equally? Okay, there's not going to be a rule of Bechor. There's not going to be no double portion, whatever. We'll get to that. Okay, and as Michael said, doesn't matter if you had 10 sons first, 10 sons first and then 10 daughters. Each one gets 1/20. Okay, order doesn't matter, sex doesn't matter, everybody gets equally. That's a pretty egalitarian, position. And the Gemara is going to they're going to be Tanaim that hold that. I mean, we just have already Tanaim that hold that. So the question is, it's very actually, it makes a lot of sense based on what we've been talking about the idea about Mishpachas Ha'av and patriarchy, because when things remain in the father's tribe, it passes from father to son, or father to a male relative. It is staying within the tribe, right? The idea, of course, is that the land stays within the father's household and stays within the tribe, which is defined by the males, mishpachas av, right? That's the tribal identity. So as long as there is a son before a daughter, a brother before a sister, whatever, it's going to go to the men first for the purpose of, that way it remains within the mishpachas ha'av. If it were to go to a woman, she'd marry somebody else and it would go out. Okay, so that's when the father dies, a man dies. But when a woman dies, the property is anyway leaving, right, her ancestral home, right? This was a Reuvenite woman or a Danite woman who married a Reuvenite. Whoever is going to get from her is going to be taking it away from the patriarchal family. So if that's true, if it's not going to be staying in the patriarchal family, so once you're not dealing with that patriarchal structure and maintaining that patriarchal structure, so the girls and the boys can inherit equally. People appreciate that. I mean, it's a very powerful idea. It's saying it's not that, boys always have to come before girls, men always have to come before women. It's saying in the context of, the patriarchal inheritance and keeping things within the patriarchal family, because it is defined as like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it's sort of defined through the men, then as long as there's a man, we're going to keep it in that tribe. We're not going to give it to a woman who will then take it away from the tribe. But once it's already being coming from a woman and already taken away from that original family and tribe, then men and women inherit equally.
Well, the question on that would be then, if a man dies and has a son and a daughter and brothers, right? If there's no son, then don't give it to the daughter, give it to the brother. That way, it can stay within the same.
You're right, and that is the tremendous chiddush of Benot Tzilafchad, is that number one is that women would get at all. Right, because you should say the logic before Benot Tzilafchad, the logic is you will seek out any male relative, living male relative, before you would give it to a woman in order to keep it within the tribe. That was the logic before Benot Tzlafcha. That's why Benot Tzlafcha was so radical, is they come in and they say, right after the sons, before you give it to a brother, right, who's a pretty close male relative, we're going to get, even though it's going to entail eventually this land leaving the Mishpachas Av, right? And that's, as Rabbi says, that's why the Pasuk uses the word V'havartem. I think it's really a great shot in the pasuk. You're going to be transferring it out of the tribe.
Right,
that's why Benot Tzlafcha were so
Benot
radical.
Tzlafcha's point was precisely the opposite. And we should inherit so that we keep it within the family.
I know, that's the irony.
That's the irony.
I know, that is totally the irony. I don't know what to tell you. That is the irony. That is a good way. That is a good way of making an argument, like, for, sort of. People have written about this, about, like, in general, about women in Tanakh and also with Ruth or whatever, like, when people are not in empowered positions, you have to make an argument that the people in power can hear, sort of like, so, right? So so it's a much more acceptable argument to say, we need to do this to maintain our father's, name and legacy, than just to say, like, hey, we deserve it, even though it's going to mean that it's going to leave our father's household, right? But you're right. It's ironic. The reality is, they say, Lama Yigara Shem Avinu, and it'll maintain Shem Avinu for one generation, but then it's going to ultimately, long term, it's going to be Yigara Shem Avinu. You're absolutely correct.
So the husband in this with the wife?
He inherits from his wife if he's around first.
So
the husband first, right? So then will also take it away. That's why we needed a special pasuk for that as well. Yes. Okay. All right. So yeah.
So it was the rabbis who decided it was only that generation of the
yes.
So they really did this shift, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that they're not interpreting their act as a rabbinic legislation. They're interpreting the verses, but it's their interpretation that limits it to that. Right.
So if they hadn't done
it, the Benot Tzlafcha would have been a lot less radical if you would have left it with the modification of their uncles. Right. Then everything at least would have remained within the tribe. It wouldn't have necessarily remained within the household, but would have remained within the tribe. Okay, so now we have this great debate. Okay, what happens when a mother dies? Do sons and daughters inherit equally? So the Gemara says like this. So Rav Nisai, Savar Lamevid Uvda Karib Zachariah ben Akatzav. So Rav Nisai, a woman died and left over sons and daughters, and she had property. And this Rav Nisai wanted to rule like Rav Zachariah ben Akatzav and to divide it equally. Amalei Shmuel, so Shmuel said to him, "Come on, Zachariah, who are you going like? You're ruling like this, Zachariah? Ephes Zachariah or Afei Zachariah. He's a nothing. He's a zero. Forget him." Okay.
Well, hold on, a core pedagogic move.
So Rabbi Tavla, Avad Uvda Reb Zachariah ben Katzav. Rabbi Tavla didn't think to do this. He paskined this way. He actually gave property equally to the sons and daughters. Amalei Reb Nachman. So Reb Nachman said, "My high, what's going on?" Because I actually have a tradition in the name of Rav. You could sort of say, who's this Zachariah guy? But here's Rav. Rav Paskins. Halacha Karebi Zachariah ben Akatzav. So he said to him, Zila Haderbach. No, you have to go and reverse yourself. Now, it's an interesting question. When he says reverse yourself, is he saying reverse your ruling, take the property out of the hands of the people you gave it to, those women, those girls, and give it to the sons? Or is he just saying, like, reverse your general psak, as opposed to your actual particular ruling in this case? It sounds like, I think from the context, it sounds like he actually wanted him to reverse the actual case itself. Okay, v'i lo, and if you don't reverse yourself, mafkina l'cha Rabbi Chanina bar Shammai mi'unayich, I will pull this Rabbi Chanina bar Shammai out of your ears. So, because it's Rabbi Chanina bar Shammai said it in the name of Rav. So he basically says, like, who the heck cares? Like, I'm going to just completely separate him from you. So the Rashbam says what that means is I'm going to put him in Cherem. And by putting him in Cherem for paskening this idea in the name of Rav or whatever, then you won't be able to quote him and rely on him. The Rabbeinu Gershom says he says when he says from your ear, what it means is if you don't give that property to those sons and take it out of those girls, I'm going to come and take it out of your property and give it to those sons. So like pull it out of your ear, you're going to have to pay for like this psak. Okay, so it's quite interesting. People are really exercised over this, over the fact that there would be a possibility that girls wouldn't, or women would inherit equal to men. Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand. This is only in the case there's no husband, right? Because if the husband,
all of this is no husband. Yes.
Because then to go to the son.
Correct.
Right? We don't say, this is one for wife's
property. Yes. Correct. This is no husband. The woman dies, it directly goes, and it goes directly from the mother to the sons. If the woman dies and it goes to the husband, then it becomes the husband's property, and then it follows the rules of the husband's inheritance. You are correct. Okay, so Rav Huna.
Does it matter if the daughter has a husband also? Does that matter?
No.
Doesn't
No,
matter.
yeah. Okay. I mean, it'll go to the husband eventually when she dies, if she dies before her husband.
Lose it by being
Correct.
She doesn't lose the.
Correct. I mean, the point of the husband would eat the payroll, right? As the general arrangement. She has the title, husband eats the payroll, but she would inherit it.
Anything she brought into the marriage.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything that she owns that she did not explicitly give title to her husband, so she has title and the husband eats the payroll. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to pull him out of your ear. So where were we? Okay. Rav Huna bar Chia several mevet uvde kreb Zechariah ben Katsav. So this Rav Huna bar Chia wanted to also pass in this way. Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said to him, "Mayai, what's going on here?" So again, Rav Nachman. It's interesting to see who are the ones that are so opposing it. So we have Shmuel and Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman twice now. What's going on? Amalei, Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav. Now I have not only a tradition in the name of Rav, but a tradition of Rav Huna in the name of Rav, who's also a great authority. Rav Huna, Halach Reb Zechariah ben Katsav. Amar Le, he said to him.
Rav Nachman responded.
Rav Nachman responded, right, to who is this? To Rav Huna bar Chia. Eshlach Le, you want me to go ahead and send a message to Rav Huna and ask him if he really paskins that way? Ichsif, he was embarrassed. Now the Rashbam says, what's going on? I mean, was he making it up? So he says, no, he really did have this tradition in the name of Rav Huna, but he was afraid, Rav Nachman was coming on so strong that he was afraid that if Rav Nachman would ask Rav Huna himself might reverse himself. Okay. So, I mean, it's very hard when somebody is really shaming you, or like, how can you have this position, right? To hold your ground. Okay. Amar Le, so Rav Nachman said to him, or overpowering you. Anyway, if Rav Huna had not been alive, and he wasn't there for me to actually be able to, check your claim. So Itrasis Kavli, you would have argued against me. You would have opposed my position. Okay, so again, it's a little vague, right? Because was he really not honestly reporting? I mean, again, the Rashbam says he was honestly reporting the tradition of Rav Huna. He was just afraid that with Rav Nachman's onslaught, Rav Huna would reverse himself. Anyway, yeah.
They could also been trying to protect Rav Huna since Rav Nachman has this.
Right.
Really intimidating people. He didn't want to.
Exactly. Now I am wondering how much this is Bavel Eretz Yisrael, because Rav originally came from Eretz Yisrael, and in Eretz Yisrael, women had much greater standing in law than in Bavel. Rav Nachman is from Bavel, right? Rav Nachman is yeah. So right. So I wonder if that might have some influence. I don't know if all these other Tanoim who also paskin that women, all these other positions who paskin that women get it, also are Eretz Yisrael. But Rav certainly originally comes from Eretz Yisrael. What are you asking, Michael?
No, what is he saying in this last line? If Rav Huna had died, then what?
If Rav Huna had died and he wasn't around there for me to tell you that I would I'm going to go ask him to verify, you would have opposed me, and you would have maintained your opposition to me.
But now that he is alive,
and you're afraid that I'm going to go check with him if he really said that. Now you're willing to concede. So it's a good thing he's around for us, to keep you honest. Is what he said.
Rabbi Linzer, what's the word Yitrasek? What is it?
I think it means like a trees, which is like a shield, like to come into. That's the way I interpret it.
Trees.
Trees.
Yeah. Trees.
Oh yeah.
Well, rebuffed me.
Rebuffed, right, yeah.
Or
Treesim, yeah.
Oh yeah, Treesim are shield, right. The shutters,
also
exactly.
Ruffians, also people.
Okay, all right. So, okay, where are we? Okay, the EU command Savra. So now it's so funny. Rav Nachman, who is so against, this, like, who's he going like? Like, they had a tradition in the name of Rav Huna, in the name of Rav, etc. Where's his tradition that you reject this position? Kihad Rav Shmuel, so he has a different tradition in the name of Rav. And not only Shmuel, we already heard, was opposed to it, but he has a tradition that both Rav and Shmuel were opposed to it. So there's Shmuel clearly was opposed to it. Rav Nachman, who was Shmuel's Talmud, right? Rav Nachman, who was Shmuel's Talmud, was they were both strongly opposed to it, and there was a debate about what was Rav's position about it. All right, now Mistamach va'azu Rabbi Yanai. Now we're going to have an interesting little story. Rabbi Yanai was supporting himself and going. He was blind and he was infirm, and he was going akatfa de Reb Simlai. He was being like sort of carried on the shoulders of Reb Simlai, Shamei, his attendant. V'asi Rabbi Yehuda Nisia Lapaya. Rabbi Yehuda Nisia, the grandson of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, not to be confused with Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nisia was coming to greet them. Was coming opposite them. Amr Lei Bar. So who was again? Rabbi Yanai said to his attendant, Bar Inish to Asa Likivlana, that man that is coming to that person that is coming to greet us, that's coming opposite us. I'm sorry, excuse me, I got that wrong. The attendant said to Rabbi Yanai, Bar Inish to Asa Likivlana, a man is coming to opposite us. Hu Yai, he's beautiful. Gulase Yai, and his cloak is beautiful. So he, there he was. He was describing what was going on in the environment to Rabbi Yanai. So Kimata Legabe, when they encountered Rabbi Yehuda Nisia, Gashisha. So Rabbi Yanai felt his clothes because he said he has a beautiful cloak. This is very evocative of about Yitzchak and Yaakov by feeling the hairy cloak. So Amar Le, he said to him, Dain Shirei Kasak. What do you mean it was a beautiful cloak? The thing he's wearing is an inferior material, and it would have the same halachic dimensions as sackcloth. What's the minimum size of a cloth that can become tamei? So normally, if it's not sackcloth, normal fabric is 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim. But sackcloth, which is inferior, you need a larger size to have significance. So he said, this is inferior material. What do you mean that it was so beautiful? Okay, so I don't know how that's at all relevant to this story, but I do like the idea of feeling the cloak and identifying the person. Sounds like very much Yitzchak to me. Anyway, so boimine now. Now Rabbi Yehuda Nisia asked from Rabbi Yanai, so he sort of let that, I guess, insult just pass. So he asked from Rabbi Yanai the following question: Okay, how do you know this question we're asking? How do you know when the mother dies, the son comes first in inheritance? Amar le t'chsiv matot. The tribes, Makish Mateam Lamateav, Ma Mateav Ben Kodam Labat, Av Mateim Ben Kodam Labat, because it says tribes. So the same way by the father's tribe, the son comes first. By the mother's tribe as well, the son comes first.
Who asked the question, Rabbi Yanai?
No, Rabbi Yehuda Nisia asked this to Rabbi Yanai, and Rabbi Yanai gave the answer. Rabbi Yanai is the big Talmud Chacham. Amar Le, so Rabbi Yehuda Nisia said, Ima Mateav B'chor Noto Pishnayim, Af Mateaim B'chor Noto Pishnayim. Once you're going to have the son come first, once you're taking this approach, not the egalitarian approach that we saw of these other, Tanaim and Amoraim, you're going to say we're going to maintain son come first. So let's go the whole way. Let's say the son gets a double portion when he inherits from his mother. So Amalei L'Shamei, so Rabbi Yanai said to his attendant, good, let's basically, take me away from here. Leistin Savi L'Melef, this guy doesn't really want to learn. He just wants to be contentious. Now, it's so funny. It's a very reasonable question, but somehow it seems like he was sort of feeling like, oh, I insulted his clothes. Maybe he's asking me these questions in order to get back at me or something. It's very funny. This does not get expanded upon what was going on with the cloak and whatever. And why was that such a bad question? So that's what the Gemara says, V'taim amai. So now the Gemara is saying, okay, but what is the answer? So Rabbi Yanai felt, he's a troublemaker, let's leave. But the Gemara says, it's not such a bad question. What's the answer? If the son comes first, how do you know the son doesn't get double? So Amar Abaye, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, B'chol asher yimatzei lo. Now we're going to look at the pasuk by a bechor. It says, it says, what is it? What's the pasuk? Hachad Avva v'Achat Snua v'Yaldu lo banim ha'Avva v'Hasnua v'Aya ben Bechor lasniya lo yuchal levakeres ben ha'Avva pnei ben Hasnua ha'Bechor ki as the Bechor ben Hasnua yakir lateit lo pishnayim yakir lateit lo pishnayim b'chol asher yimatzei lo. So the Bechor gets Pishnayim of everything that is found belonging to him being the father. So we're going to say the Pishnayim comes when it comes from the lo, when it comes from property of the father, but not when it comes from property of the mother. B'chol asher yimatzei lo. Lo, the lo. The Ema, so now the Gemara says, 1 minute. The Ema, Hani Mili Bechor, Shenasa Almana. maybe that's only when meaning a bechor, when it was a first marriage for the man. It's interesting, right? By women, you have the terms like, betula, almana, grusha. By the man, you basically, have this word young or old, right? So we use the word bechor to mean it was a first marriage. So maybe that's only when it was the first marriage for the man and a second marriage for the woman. Why would that matter? Because for then the woman, because then it is a bechor for the father, but the child is not a bechor for the mother, because the mother was a second marriage for her. She already had children from a previous marriage. So the Gemara is saying this pasuk says that this child only gets pishnayim from his father's estate and not his mother's estate. But the Gemara says, well, maybe that's just a case where he wasn't the firstborn of his mother. He was the firstborn of his father, but not the firstborn of his mother.
I thought the definition of a firstborn has to do with Peter Rechem.
That's for Pidyon Ben. But let me just state that because the Gemara is going to say it, but it's really important. Yeah. So the Bechor for Nachala, like everything, is defined by the father. Okay, the firstborn for the father. Reshit Ona, we're going to say below Ona. Ona. So if it's a man, so that's first, in the psukim right there, for each wife, the pshat of the psukim is for each wife, it was each woman's firstborn child. But the question is, who's first? The bechor is the man's firstborn child. So if it's the man's firstborn child and it's a woman's second or third child and it's a different marriage of hers, it doesn't matter. That's again the patriarchy. It goes by the man's firstborn child. That's for Nachala. For Peter Rechem, it goes by the woman's firstborn child. So you can have somebody who is chayiv in Pidyon Haben, but does not get pishnayim for nachla. You get somebody to get pishnayim for nachla. Now you can't get somebody who gets, you can, but for a different reason. But if you're getting you can get somebody who gets, you get somebody who's first for Pidyon Haben. I have to think this through. Yeah, if a man, either way, if a man was previously married and has had a son, and then he marries another woman and has a son. Right, so that son is not going to get his double portion, but it will get Pidyon Haben. Right, and the reverse. If it's a man's first son and the woman's second son, so it's not going to be a Pidyon Haben, but it's going to be
there's two different types of bechor.
Exactly. Okay, there's Peter Rechem and there's bechor. Okay, yeah. So lo v'lo lo. The ema hani mili bechor shenasa almana. Yes.
Is there? Sorry.
Right.
Does it matter? It's a chet and a chaf. Like those are two different words.
I know, bechor and bechor. But bechor here means, I said no, bechor with a chet is when it wants to speak about a man and speak about a first marriage, it contrasts bechor to almon. When it speaks about a woman and it wants to speak about a first or second marriage, it usually contrasts bitula to almana or to grusha. But bechor with a chet for a man means a first marriage.
Is not necessarily a bechor.
Right. Are you just saying I was pronouncing it wrong? Okay, bachor. Okay, fine. Bachur. Fine. Sorry. Okay. I'll try to make my chet more guttural too.
No.
Okay.
Sounds like
fine. The ema mili hani mili bachur shenasa almana. About bachur shenasa betula. Notice again, she's a betula, he's a bachur. Anyway, hachanami to shakya. So maybe yes, this pasuk means that he gets the firstborn. He gets double from his father's estate. But maybe and not his mother's. But maybe it's a case where he's not his mother's firstborn. Maybe if he was his mother's firstborn, he would get double from her estate as well. Okay, so you can't prove from that pasuk that somebody does not get double from his mother's estate. Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, Amar Kra, Reshit Ono. No, there's another pasuk in this. It says, Kihu Reshit Ono. He is this man's first strength. Ono v'lo ona. So again, that extra sense of the male pronoun, his first strength and not hers, is to underscore, even if it was her first son, you only get double portion in the father's estate, not the mother's estate.
He's the proof of the father's first virility.
Basically. Okay, so the Gemara says 1 minute. So here's another difference between Peter Rechem. If a woman miscarries and then has a viable male child, he does not get Pidyon Haben because he was not Peter Rechem. He was not the first issue of the womb. Even a non-viable issue of the womb makes this child not the first issue of the womb.
A miscarriage after a certain point in pregnancy.
Yes, I mean after 40 days, basically, after a very early point. Right, exactly. So there would not be so that would not be a pidyon haben. But for Bechor, it goes by the first viable son. If he was the first viable birth and a son, he would get the Bechor. And we learn it from the word of like strength. Now, again, I don't know exactly what this drasha is about dava alav. Like it seems like it's going from either from the word, the strength. So it's something viable. But then it shifts to only a child that a person would sort of like his heart would, be anguished over if the child did not survive. So if a child was never born alive, was born, obviously a person feels terrible in the case of a miscarriage. But what are you saying? Dava means to like pain, right? Right. I understand. So it's saying we're saying from that it has to be that the child was born viable. A child was born viable and then dies causes, of course, a lot more. You have hopes and expectations, and then there's that profound pain, right? Obviously, again, there's tremendous pain in the miscarriage as well, but the Gemara is saying it's of a different quality. Okay, so again, all I'm saying is that I don't know how they get the phrase "libo dava alav." It seems to somehow be a drash on the word "oh no." Maybe, and I'm not exactly getting that, right? Why didn't it say Misha who haya reshit on, and therefore it had to be a viable child. But anyway, somehow the pasuk Reshit Ono tells us that it goes by for Bechor L'Nachla, it goes by the first viable child. By Bechor Petyon Ben, it goes by the first issue of the womb. All right. So anyway, so don't we need the pasuk Reshit Ono to tell you that halacha, and not to tell you only from the father's estate and not the Gemara's estate? So the Gemara says, "Im kain lema kra." So if that was all the pasuk was saying, let it just say Kihu Reshit On, the first strength. Okay, and therefore means a child born that's viable. That's the Bechor. My ono, his strength with the personal pronoun, Shma Minak Party, to tell you both things, that the child only gets the, the double portion of the father's estate, not of the mother's. So the Gemara says, 1 minute. Maybe I can still limit the psukim. Hani mili almon shenasa betula. Maybe I'll flip it. Maybe now the pasuk is talking about a case where the man, it's a second. When is it that, not the pasuk? The pasuk is talking that it is that he gets the father's. He's the firstborn of the father and the mother, but and therefore, and he gets the. Wait a minute. Hold on. The pasuk is telling you that he gets the father's double portion and not the mother's. But the Gemara is saying maybe the case where he doesn't get the mother's double portion is when he's only a Bechor to his mother and not a Bechor to his father. Okay, so if he's only a Bechor, the status of Bechor comes by virtue of the father. So if he's only a Bechor to his mother and not a Bechor to his father, he would not get a double portion. So Hanimili Amon Shenasa Betula. If it is not a Bechor to his father and a Bechor to his mother, so he's not a full Bechor, so he doesn't get a double portion from his mother. But Aval, let me say, Bechor Shenasa Betula, if it is both a father's firstborn, Bechor, both a father's firstborn and a mother's firstborn, let me say that because he has a status of firstborn by virtue of his father, and he also is a firstborn of his mother, let him now get a double portion from his mother. So Hachinami de Shakya, let him get it. So Elama Rava, so Rava says, Amakra, lo mishpat ha-bechora. Because to him is the mishpat ha-bechora. Now him here means the son, the firstborn son, the son of the hated wife, as opposed to the son of the beloved wife, right? That's the context of the psukim. The lo refers to the son. But we're going to do the drasha differently. Mishpat ha-bechora li'ish, v'lo mishpat ha-bechora li'isha. Not talking about the son, but talking about the parent. Lo to a male parent is the law of firstborn. To a female parent is not the law of firstborn. So it only goes by the father's estate, not by the mother's. So it's pretty funny. Rav Yanai, who said, "Get out of here, this guy's a troublemaker." It took the Gemara a lot of effort to prove that you don't get, if the son comes first by the mother, that he doesn't get a double portion. So again, what that underscores is that even when mothers dies, you're not working within the standard sort of patriarchy, right? It's again within the patriarchy. What's the idea of a double portion? I mean, what is that about? What that's about is that the firstborn is seen as the head of the family, and therefore, right, and again, the male head of the family, and therefore he gets a larger stake in the estate. Okay, so however, that's all when you're dealing with and maintaining the father's family. But when it's coming through the mother, it's not operating like that, where he's not going to get a double portion. Now, by that same logic, girls and boys should, men and women should inherit equally. But the Gemara is saying no. Even though we've established that men come, even though this position very strongly holds men comes first, even though again we're not within that patriarchal construct, at least you're not going to get a double portion. That really only makes sense in that classic patriarchal construct.
I want to make sure I understand this. The Gemara is making the following assumption: it's an almon who married a betula.
Yeah.
Right. So it's Lepidyon Ben. It's her firstborn.
Right.
Right. But it's not his firstborn.
Right.
Because he had a son with another woman.
Right.
But with this wife, we could have been Bechor L'Nachala with this. Right?
Yeah. What the Gemara is saying is,
so in the general, in the history of his marriages and his childbearing.
No. Not for him.
For him.
For the mother's property, it could have been a Bechorah, not for his property. A man can only have one son who gets double portion. Again, because
not with each wife.
Correct. That's the whole point. The whole point is you look at this as Mishpachas Ha'av. Ignore the wives, just look at the children. And you get the oldest son, and that gets double portion. You don't look at them as different families, right? That's the idea of Mishpachas Ha'av. It's all one family, all based on the father's children. So there's only one Bechor L'Nachala. Okay, but the Gemara's Havamina was, even though you've proven that if he's a Bechor to his mother, he doesn't get a double portion, maybe that's when he's not a Bechor to his father. But if he has a status of Bechor that he gets for his father, and he's a Bechor to his mother, maybe he gets a double portion from his mother, and then the Gemara rejected that as well. No, double portion only comes from the father's estate, not from the mother's.
So the question, that last question was if he's both.
If he's both, maybe
you have a woman who has two Bechor children, like from different men.
Yes, correct.
And
correct. And then they would both get the first double portion of their fathers.
But you wouldn't know what to do with the mother if you were saying.
Well, it would be her firstborn. Her firstborn, meaning if he's a Bechor to his father, and that is necessary to give him a status of Bechor, then can we piggyback on that and say that if he's also the Bechor to his mother, he gets a double portion from his mother? And the Gemara said, no, not even that. All right. So this, I think, is like a really fascinating Gemara. Once it's passing through the mother, you're no longer operating within the patriarchal household. The property is taken away from the patriarchal household, from the mother's tribe and whatever, and therefore does it completely rearrange how the distribution is. So and it's very interesting how how passionately some rabbis argued against sort of the equal division. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this: that ish etz ishto, and this is the other place in which it goes away from that patriarchal structure, is when a man inherits his wife. All right, so minani mili, and that was okay. So minani mili, where do you get this from? Jitana Rabbanan she'iro zo ishto. It says she'iro hakarov elav. You should give it to his flesh who is close to him. So his flesh, that's his wife.
Why is this outside the patriarchy? In other words, he's inheriting them going through the man.
Yeah, but he's taking it away
from where she got it.
That was the problem.
That was the whole thing.
Once they get it, if it's going to go to either their sons or their husbands, it's going to go away.
Got it.
Okay? She'ero, zo ishto. He inherits his wife. Now, that's not shot of the pasuk, because the pasuk says that this pasuk is talking about who it passes to. Unisatem es nachalato lish'ero unisatem et nachalato lish'ero. So it means you should give it to his wife if we read she'ero as ishto. So that's what the Gemara is going to ask. Yachol af hi tirshenu, maybe she inherits from him. Talmud lomar v'yarash ota, and he will inherit. Now the ota is etanachala. That's the feminine. But the Gemara is learning the pasuk, reading it. V'yarash ota. He inherits from her. Who yorish ota? Vein he yoreshet oto. So it's reading the ota as his wife, not as the nachala. Okay. So the Gemara says, 1 minute. Hai krav lav hachiksivi. That's not what the pasuk says. The pasuk says it says you give it to his wife. How can you say it means that he gets from his wife and he doesn't give it to his wife?
Because the law means men.
Okay. So Amar Baye taritz hachi. When it's a temes nachas zo likarov elav. Okay, Yarash Ota. So Otar, and we're saying means he inherits from her and he doesn't inherit from him. Anyway, so Rabbi says, here's how you read the pasuk. Unisatem es nachalato likarov elav. You sort of take the lamed also. And then it says, as far as She'ero is concerned, as far as his wife is concerned, he's going to inherit his wife.
Yerei Shota.
Okay, he will inherit it from his wife. Okay, so Rava says, Amar Rava, Sakina Charifa, Mafsaka Kroy, a sharp knife is going to cut the pasuk? What are you doing? You're cutting the pasuk out like that? Where are you getting your knife to cut the pasuk in half like that? Ella Amar Rava, so Rava rather says, Hachi Kamar, Unesetemes Nachalat She'ero Lo. So he's like, we can't totally reread it like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're only going to slightly reread it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to just use two words. Okay, just do two letters. He says, now, so Lishe'ero, what we're going to do is we're going to take away the lamed, and we're going to take this vav here, and we're going to read She'er v'nesatem es nach, or no, this vav, and this lamed, v'nesatem es nachalat she'ero lo. So we're not totally cutting up the pasuk. We're just moving two letters. Got it? Nachalim es nachalat she'er lo. She'ero lo. All right. So Kasavar, he's of the opinion, Gorinu mosifin v'darshin. You take the letter away, you add the letter back, and then you make your drasha.
You add it
exactly.
Else.
Okay. So the Gemara says, all right. So that's a lot of chopping up a pasuk.
Wait a second.
Yes.
Question. So, but what's the legal import of this hermeneutic? Is there a smachtas or it's the right?
Okay. So thank you for asking that. So because these drashot seem a real stretch, Rambam is of the opinion that a husband inheriting from his wife is only d'Rabbanan. Almost all Rishonim argue. Rambam also holds that a Kohen, this week's parsha, a Kohen becoming tamei to his wife, which is not in the parsha, which is not in the psukim. Rambam says that's only d'Rabbanan. How can you d'Rabbanan allow an Isser d'Oraita? Yeah. So he says they made her like a mate mitzvah. They said nobody else is allowed to bury her, only the husband. So she's a mate mitzvah, so he's allowed to be matami to her. But all the other Rishonim assume that read this as a d'Oraita drasha. Now, of course, what you might say is 1 minute. This has to be that a husband inherits from his wife in the Torah. What else would have been the problem with Benot Salafcha? Why would the uncles have complained? So what's the answer? Why would the uncles have complained if there was not that it's going to take it away from the tribe, if there's not a rule that the husbands would inherit from them?
Those are kids.
They're kids, as we've already established. As long as the mother passes on to her children, it's going to take away from the tribe. Right? So you don't know from the Benot Salafcha story that the husband inherits the wife. You know that when the wife inherits, it can pass on to a different man. But that different man could be her kids, could be her, again, not necessarily her husband. Yes.
Isn't the significance of this that we're saying a wife doesn't inherit her husband? I mean, like
a husband inherits from his wife. A wife does not inherit from her husband.
Right. So but that's like meaning the fact that a husband inherits from his wife doesn't seem so radical to me. Like
correct.
Right.
It's not radical, but it's not in the psukim.
That they're taking a pasuk that says that a wife inherits from her husband and saying no, she doesn't.
If you read this word as she'ero, pshat of the psukim, we could say is that she'ero, like the pasuk by this week's parsha by the Kohen, it says ki im li she'ero hakarov elav. Who is the Kohen mitame to? His flesh. Who's his flesh? It doesn't say his wife. So you could have said she'ero means his blood relative. Pshat of the pasuk is his wife isn't here at all. Okay, once we read she'ero as ishto, then pshat becomes his wife inherits from him. And then we have to completely reread it to say he inherits from his wife.
So that's a double problem, right? Because it probably is about blood relatives.
Right, and I want to say something. Let's say the halacha was not that a husband inherits from his wife. Who would inherit from her? Her father, her brother, and therefore the property would go back to the ancestral estate. Right? So the only time the property would go away from the ancestral estate would be when it would pass on to her male children, which is what we discussed earlier. Okay, or female who's then married, whatever. But when you say that now the husband inherits her, right, then you're really ensuring that the property is going to go away.
It's going to get lost.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that would make more sense. Like if a woman has children and then her husband dies,
right?
If her husband dies when they're young, does she go back to her
Yeah, I mean, well, the psukim sort of talk about that. It sounds like as long as there are children, she still stays within the husband's household. But if she has no children, her husband dies, she goes back. At least conceptually, whether practically.
It's more likely that the children are going to feel like connected to her family.
In that case, yeah. But the psukim make it sound like as long as there are surviving children, she sort of stays in her husband's household even after he dies. All right, let's just finish this one drasha. The high Tana Maisi Lo Mehelcha. The following Tana learns out that a husband inherits from his wife, but not the reverse from the following drasha. The Tanya, V'yarash Ota. Forget She'era. That's talking about blood relative. Okay, we're not going to play with the She'era. That's too complicated. We're just going to jump right here. V'yarash Ota. Just read those two words by themselves. He inherits from her. The man inherits from his husband, from his wife. Okay. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Einu Tzarich. You don't have to learn it from there. Harei Omer, v'chobat yoreshet nachala mimatot b'nei Yisrael lechad mimishpachas etc. V'asel zabal akasu midaber. Right. So the pasuk in the context of Benot Tzlafchad is saying this woman will marry and gets an inheritance. She'll marry from another tribe, and the inheritance will pass away. So how is it going to pass off how is it going to go to the other tribe? It must be her husband will inherit from her. Now, as we've just discussed, no, not necessarily. The way a woman's inheritance can get away from the tribe is not necessarily through the husband. It could be through the son. What Rabbi Shmuel is going to do now is he's going to line up a whole list of psukim that make it clear that when a woman inherits from, the nachla will go to a different tribe. And the question is, do any of those make it clear that it goes to the husband, or could they all be interpreted that they go to the son? So let's just read those psukim and we'll pick up with that. What?
Which goes first? There's a husband in there.
First the husband, but we're first establishing the husband. But yes, the husband inherits before the son, or before the children. Okay, so Rabbi Shmuel Omer Einu Tzarich. Harei Omer v'chobat yoreshet nachla mitot b'nei lechad mimishpachat v'asabas habal kasu medaber. You see, if a woman would marry, the property would go out of the tribe, and that must be because the husband inherits. You cannot allow the inheritance to go to a different tribe. It must be because the husband inherits. The Omer, same as almost an identical pasuk. The Omer, another pasuk says, Elazar ben Aharon mate, Elazar died, and they buried him in the valley of Pinchas, his son. So why was it Pinchas's valley? How did Pinchas get a valley that he didn't get through Elazar, his father? So the Gemara is going to say maybe he bought it. But anyway, Ella Pinchas Isha Umesa V'Yasha. It must be that he had a wife and he inherited from his wife, and therefore Pinchas had an inheritance that wasn't coming through Elazar, his father. So you see, a husband inherits. All right. Now, of course, the point is he could have bought it. His mother could have passed it on to him. Exactly. The Omer, one last pasuk. The Sagovo lead Yair, Vahilo Esrim V'Shalosh Arim Be'eretz HaGilad. Yair to all of these cities. Where did he get cities that his father didn't have? It must be he married a woman and he inherited from her. So you have all these psukim that the nachla can transfer, but as the Gemara is going to say, they could all be talking about going from mother to son, not from wife to husband. So we are going to have to see how we know that it goes from wife to husband. All right, to be continued.